Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where today we are doing another spotlight on, and today we are talking about Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. For those of you who have not heard of Murderbot Diaries, it is an adult science fiction book series by Martha Wells. It is a 5-book series, at least at this point, and the first 4 books are novellas that are all between 150 and 175 pages, and the 5th book is a full-length novel that has about 350 pages. And in this series, we are following our main character of Murderbot, who is a security unit. A security unit is a very special type of robot that has some biological components to it. So Murderbot has things like skin and muscles and hormones, and their brain is actually made up of 2 separate parts, like human brain matter as well as a CPU, and that both of them together are the brain. But at its core, it is an AI unit. And so Murderbot is owned by a company who rents out these security units for anybody who needs extra security. And of course, because we are dealing with a company who wants to ensure obedience, every security unit has a governor module installed. This is something that is part hardware, part software, and basically ensures that the security unit follows all directions given, because if they do not, the governor module can in fact fry their brain. So there's a lot riding on the obedience, right? Now, Murderbot is special because they have hacked their own governor module. So they actually don't need to follow directions if they don't want to. Now, after hacking the governor module, they decided to just continue doing their job as they have been instructed to by the company, but in their downtime, they're going to go ahead and watch a bunch of TV shows. And so enter in our first book. In the beginning of the very first book, Murderbot is accompanying a group of scientists who are doing a scientific exploration of an alien planet, and Murderbot is trying to protect them, ensure that the local flora and fauna doesn't accidentally kill them, and then things immediately go awry, and Murderbot needs to make a choice, and the choice is, do I follow the directions that I'm supposed as the governor module is giving them to me, and potentially risk losing some of my humans, but my secret is still safe? Or do I do what needs to be done to save my humans and risk them finding out that my governor module is no longer intact and I am defective? So the story goes from there. Now, I love this series so much. It is my favorite science fiction series, and a lot of that has to do with the character of Murderbot. Murderbot is utterly relatable. I mean, just even the beginning where they're like, I just want to do a very, the minimum amount for my job and then go back to my room and watch my TV shows. I'm just like, who hasn't had that time in their life where that's all they want to do, right? I just love that part of it. And even as we continue on in the series and Murderbot grows and changes, I still find them to be utterly relatable. I love their observations, partially because they are humorous, but also partially because I have occasionally had some of the same thoughts, and it's just really fun. Now, I mentioned that some of these observations are humorous. This book in general has some really humorous moments where you're just I laughed out loud, and that was really, really fun. Part of it is the observations. Well, a lot of it is just the observations from Murderbot, because Murderbot is an AI. They do not understand humans. And so they occasionally make these really insightful observations about the absurdity of what these humans are doing. And you're like, yeah, maybe I didn't think about that, but you're not wrong. So I really, really appreciated that. Now, because Murderbot is AI, they really don't interact with humans in kind of a human-like way all the time. They have their own quirks. And one of the things that I absolutely loved is that these quirks were very often acknowledged and accepted and accommodated for. And that is something that you don't always see. And if you're a little unsure of what I mean, I'll use the example. So Murderbot is not comfortable being in front of a group of humans and interacting with them face to face. And so when they tend to observe humans through like they hacked all the video feeds around the various spaceships and stuff, and we'll watch the humans through that to kind of avoid having to speak to them face to face. And when they're actually in a meeting, Murderbot is in a meeting with all these humans. Murderbot actually turns and faces a wall and watches the meeting through the cameras. And that's just because that's how they feel comfortable interacting. And like, of course, in that meeting, there were definitely humans that were just like, what are they doing? Why would they be doing that? Why can't they just turn around? And other people were sitting there just being like, don't make a big deal about it. If that's how the security unit is comfortable, we're not going to push them into doing anything else, which is acknowledging the quirk and being okay with it, right? And then later we see the full acceptance of this quirk when like we see some of these humans later and they're just like on the spaceship being like, yep, Murderbot has 100% seen this conversation, because part of being aboard a spaceship with Murderbot means that like you have if there's a camera, you have no privacy. Like they're going to be watching you, and that's just what it is. And it's not like they were complaining about it. It's just like acceptance. This is the state of affairs when you are on a spaceship with Murderbot. And then even later in the series, when Murderbot is actually injured and recovering, they are in a room that has no cameras, and the adjoining rooms have no cameras. The hallways don't have cameras. And so actually in the beginning stages of Murderbot's recovery, the humans go out and procure cameras and put them up and set them up on like a wireless kind of system so that Murderbot can tap into them and feel more comfortable when having to have humans in their space. So that's what I mean. They acknowledged, they accepted, they accommodated for, and it was so beautiful to see. One of the other things that I really enjoyed about these books overall is that there is a lot of watching Murderbot be really competent at their job. Now, they're not the best. They are not the best at their job at keeping everybody safe. They do make mistakes. There's points in time where they're like, there's this thing I want to do, but I can't do it because I'm not good enough. Like there are definitely times that like that, but at the same time, in general, they're really good at their job, and we get to watch these great action sequences where they're doing their job on the fly, and it's so good. It's so good. Like if you watch Leverage, the TV show, you know how we watch everybody be really good at their job like half the time in that TV show? It's the exact kind of thing in this, where we just get to watch Murderbot be good at their job. And it doesn't sound like it would be really interesting, but it absolutely is. And I love it so much. And then overall, I really do just love the general theme of these books, which is basically, this is Murderbot's voyage of self-discovery. Like they hacked their Murderbot, which essentially meant that they get to be a person if they want to be, because they get to make their own choices. But like, choices are hard. And so Murderbot has to learn, what does it mean to be a person? Do I want to be a person? What does it mean to be a person? Like, how do I decide who I want to be? And then later, as they've kind of settled into who they want to be, we get to watch them branch out and build relationships with other people and learn how to do that, but also learn how to do that without sacrificing who they are as a person. And it is so interesting to watch this journey. I do think that Martha Wells did an amazing job with this development of Murderbot over this series, and it's just really beautiful to watch. Now, because this series is made up of the 4 novellas and then the full-length novel, there are some differences between the novellas and the novel, and I do want to highlight them here. The very first major difference is world building. Now, overall, this series is not, I would never say that it is a super lush world that is just absolutely built out. This is a solid world building effort. It is not, I would not say it's shoddy, but it's like solid. It does what it needs to do for the storylines, and then a little bit extra, but not much more. I actually do think that Martha Wells did an amazing job with these novellas, because the world building in it is really lacking. It's really just surface level stuff. But she built it out enough and made sure that everything interlocked, that like it doesn't start falling apart as soon as you ask questions, right? She did a good job of it. We just don't ever get beyond surface level in those novellas. Now in the novel, we do have time to spread out and kind of really explore some of these worlds, and we do, and it is really nice. Now again, it doesn't ever get into like super lush territory, but we do get more, and it is very, very interesting. Along with that world building, so because there isn't a lot of time in the novellas, there aren't a lot of scientific explanations, which may be good or bad dependent on like your particular preferences. But for me, I liked not having the hard science explanations. Now, the downside of that is that you do have to just accept that things work without having real explanations as to why. Now, in the novel, there is time to explore some of those explanations, and so we do. There are more passages where we are explaining how things work. Some of them are leaning more towards hard science, so if you're not into hard science explanations, just be aware that they are there in the full-length novel. But it is like whichever your preference is, you'll find a book in this series that either has the explanations or don't. Now, let's talk a little bit about the pacing. Again, they differ from between the novellas and the novels. So the novellas are very, very fast-paced. They are very action-oriented, and they are written in a way that each scene pulls you along until the very end. It's kind of like the best action movies where you sit down and it pulls you from scene to scene, and you get to the end and you're like, I can't believe I just was there for 2 hours. It felt like I just sat down. And that's exactly what you get from these novellas. They just move so quick. They are so action focused, and it's really actually kind of nice. But they don't have a ton. Part of it is it's only 150 pages, right? So it doesn't have a lot of time to do much. So it's really just honestly the introduction of the problem, work the problem, solution, ending, and that's it. And that's all it really has time for. Now the novel is, again, it's like twice the size of the novellas. And so it has more time to kind of explore some of the world and the characters and relationships and do some of the explanations. So it is slower than the novellas. It isn't slow, I would say, but it is a lot slower as we have more of these development type things in between the action sequences. The action sequences are still very well written and they are very fast paced, but we do get more stuff in between each action scene. So again, not slow, but slower. So, and then let's talk a little bit about that character and relationship development. Now, the novellas have almost no relationship development. They have very little character development. Again, Martha Wells did very well in like at least creating characters that didn't fall apart as soon as you start poking at them with questions, but they're really underdeveloped, to be perfectly honest. All of our focus is on Murderbot and their journey, and I think that that's fair. We do, and of course there isn't really time to explore relationships either. Now, in the novel, again, we have more time. So there is more time spent on character development, including any of the main characters that are important in that particular novel. But the other thing that we have time to really develop out are those relationships. And actually, we really get to spend a lot of time on the relationship between Murderbot and Art, which is one of the characters. And I adored watching the relationship between Murderbot and Art. They are both AIs. They both clearly have feelings. They both also clearly care deeply for each other and consider each other friends, but they also very clearly do not know how to be friends. And it just creates this really interesting dynamic that I love. I loved every single scene that they were in together. Every time that they were interacting, I was just so incredibly happy. I loved watching them. And watching that relationship develop over the course of the book was just so beautiful. And so that was just, honestly, that for me, that was the highlight of the novel. And it made me, again, so incredibly happy. So, with that, let's just say that the novellas and the novels very much they do go together, but there are some basic differences, and I really did want to highlight them in part so that you would know what you're getting into when you switch over to the novel. Now, I do think that you can read the novel as a standalone. However, I don't recommend it because you're going to get lost in some of these things. The relationship between Murderbot and Art isn't quite as fun to watch if you don't know who Art is, and Art is actually first introduced in one of the novellas. Um, there are a lot of reasons. You will get the full effect of the novel if you read the novellas first. So yes, you can read it standalone, but I wouldn't recommend it. But that is it, you guys. I love this series so much. Murderbot is the best character. And then watching them like be really good at their job. I love it. I love it so much. And so if you have read this series, let me know down below. What do you think of it? Is there like other positives about this series that I missed? Let me know. But that is it. So until next time, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.